Welcome to another exciting episode of the Insurance Untangled Podcast. My name is Ben Tuinei, and I'm one of the co-hosts of this podcast. And as you know, we've sort of developed this podcast to help practices that are tangled up with insurance. So today we're going to talk about something really fun that's kind of tied to insurance, which, of course, when I talk to doctors throughout the country, joining insurance is sort of the theme for marketing, which I've never really believed as a professional that joining insurance is a good form of marketing. So today I'm gonna interview my good friend Naren. How's it going, Naren?
I'm doing great. I'm just doing wonderful. And how are you, Ben?
Good. A little bit tight in the headspace today in the chest, but we're good. Otherwise, our heart is beating and I can still read, which is always a good thing, I guess. But thank you for taking time, Naren. I wanted to kind of chat with you about this whole concept of, good and, well, I guess what's considered a good marketing strategy or what's not. So what we've kind of formulated is what is and isn't a marketing strategy. So with that said, Naren, what exactly is a marketing strategy and how is it different from tactics like advertisements or promotions?
Yeah, I think the difference between strategy and tactics, usually tactics bring short-term, one-time results, right? And strategy usually is something that you really, really take time to think through and figure out, and then you implement that will work for you for years and even decades to come. So marketing strategy is, really understanding how patients go about finding and choosing a dentist, and then putting the systems in place to help those patients find you, help those patients choose you, not just for today, not just for tomorrow, but for years and decades to come. Tactics like ads are like, I run an ad, I get 3 people, and then I stop the ad, I'm dead, right? And then I run this promotion, I get 4 people, promotion is stopped, I'm dead. So it's very like, you have to keep working harder and harder every time with tactics because, ads get more expensive, promotions stop working. So it's always a struggle. Versus strategy, you really think through things and do things properly. So the machine keeps working for you and bringing in new patients day after day.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So ads and promotion, that makes sense. Promotions tend to be seasonal, like Christmas time or end of the year holiday season, those promotions usually last for a month and then they're gone. So why do you think it's important to have something more long-term, like in terms of a plan for building a lasting patient relationship instead of just focusing on short-term stuff like promotions and ads?
Yeah, I think, those of us who are parents know we try to provide, some consistency for our kids. Imagine, you are struggling financially and some weeks you can put food on the table and other weeks you cannot. As a dad or even a mom, you won't be happy about yourself. You want your kids to not have to worry about food, right? Same thing with a certain quality of life. You want them to go to certain schools. You want them to, have the same or similar friends for a long time where you're not moving house to house every 3 weeks, every 3 months because you're getting kicked out of the last house, right? So if you look at those of us who work hard for our lives and create, decent futures, we think long-term. We don't just do it. We don't just think about today's meal or, today's rent. We think about, consistency for our families, for our kids. So long-term plan that focused on building lasting relationships with patients who you acquire through this marketing machine is just like that. Versus short-term is, the opposite where, you put food on the table today, but tomorrow your kids are starving, which none of us want. So really, I think, in the hustle and bustle of business, some people or some practice owners, instead of focusing on the long-term things that make their life better, not just for today, but for years to come and their team's life better, instead of focusing on that, tend to get sidetracked by some quick fix that works for 2 minutes or 2 days and then back to struggling again. And that's why, unfortunately, many practices, are not making enough money, especially after COVID. Mm-hmm. They are in this situation where they're struggling and they struggle even more because they sign up for more PPO plans, which pay them even less versus the ones who are strong, who have strong, long-term marketing plans are dropping PPO plans, are getting rid of the ones that are not paying them enough, are in a power of strength and creating a better future for themselves and their teams over the long term. So I really, really am a huge fan of this long-term thinking, the strategic thinking versus tactical, quick fixes.
Yeah, that's the way I think is long term, thinking about the consequences of your decisions, and you have to play the long game. You see a lot of people, especially business owners these days, take advantage of instant gratification, right? Not having something that'll last. It's gratification for the next 2-3 months, but what about the next 5 to 10 years?
Exactly.
So that's,
I mean, as a business owner, you have bigger responsibilities, right? As a parent, you only have to worry about your child. Now you have to worry about 6 other families, their livelihood, their satisfaction. Because if you don't, they'll go work somewhere else. If they're not happy or exactly. they don't get what they think, they deserve and so forth. So you have to really think long and hard and do the things that makes you stronger for the long term. So you tend to attract even better people than you currently have, or keep the amazing people you currently have because you are the kind of long-term thinker.
Right. No, I agree with you there, Naren. That's an amazing thought there. I want to kind of circle back to what you said in the beginning with regards to promotions and ads, right? Like running those short-term tactics, right? Can you explain why tactics like posting on social media or running promotions alone are not enough to grow a dental practice sustainably?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think we have to go back to the fundamentals, right? Fundamentally, at any given time, 2 to 3% of the population is looking to change their dentist or find a specialist who can do, or somebody who's an expert in Invisalign who can help them with something, right? So it's only 2 to 3%. The other 97% are typically happy with their current doctor and so forth. So that 2 to 3% takes the decision of switching dentists or finding that specialist or that expert very seriously. And usually it takes weeks and months and sometimes even like 6 months to a year. So over time, they start researching their needs. Let's say, they keep seeing you on Google again and again and again. And eventually they go to your website one day and they like what they see. They like the before and afters. They like the cases. They even go a step further and perhaps look at your Google reviews. You have 239 5-star reviews, and the 15 of them just came in the last month. So now they have a lot of reasons to like and trust you, right? And finally the phone rings and you do an amazing job in making them, believers of your practice, or your team does. And then they book the appointment and they come in, you provide a great service. And now they write a wonderful review for you, which attracts more people and grows your business further. And they become a lifelong patient. And because they are ideally, hopefully fee paying versus, on a PPO plan, you keep all the money. You don't giving $300, $400 every year to the insurance companies just because they came from a PPO plan in the form of a write-off. So that's the, ideal world and the long strategy. So, the long-term thinker knows that and focuses on it. Okay, step 1, I want people to find me when they're looking for someone like me. Of course, you can buy an ad today, but tomorrow the ad is going to be double as expensive. And when your budget runs out, Google will show your competition's ad. Why don't you rank for those keywords for free near the top of Google, right? That's a strategy, because once you earn it, the only thing you have to do is to maintain it. It's like, you are a runner and your, speed is so many minutes, per mile or whatever. Just have to maintain it. Right? You don't have to start all over again and go from scratch. Of course, if you don't maintain it, now you have to catch back up. So it's so much easier to maintain than to, get back on top. So step 1, those who are thinking long-term strategy are, understanding the fundamentals. Okay, I need to rank on Google for so many keywords, and they do it and they track it and they continue to get better and better. So last month I ranked for 79 keywords. This month I'm ranking for 85, and they just keep making tiny improvements. They're not spending, a lot more money. They're spending the same amount of money, but the results continue to get better and better for the long-term thinkers, right? You buy that house versus you live in a rental house, right? Long-term thinker, that house is paid off, and now you have an asset. The short-term thinker who's living on rent for 30 years, all that money is wasted, right? And 30 years later, one guy owns $1 million asset, the other guy owns nothing. right? But typically both of them paid the same amount of money in the form of mortgage payment and or rent. So this is a huge advantage. So I think the downside with, for example, social media is, remember I said people have to see you again and again and again and like you. Now imagine you're running social media ads. Ads will only run till your budget runs out. So 10,000 people see it, but your budget runs out. Now nobody sees you. So those 10,000 people don't see you again. So what happens? They don't convert into patients. So you've wasted that $2,000 trying to get 10,000 people to see you on social media or Google Ads, because unless you have huge checks and you are owned by a large corporation which has like $100,000 plus budgets, you can't keep spending a lot of money month after month, on these ads, on these, social media ads and so forth. So you want to make sure that you are thinking smart, you're working smart, you're doing things that's costing you less, but gives you an unfair advantage over many, many years to come.
Right. I love that. I love that line of thinking long term, right? How do we create like making a snowball eventually turns into a snow boulder, So I like what you're saying here about key elements of successful marketing strategies for dental practices. Are there any other things, Naren, with regards to the key elements that would comprise of a very successful marketing strategy for a dentist or a dental practice?
Yeah, I mean, really the secret, the science behind it, using Steve Jobs' analogy, like understanding the most important thing and being able to deliver on it, right? The most important thing is get people to know you, like you, and trust you. Know you is all about Google and, showing up on Google for free without paying every time they, see you on Google. And second one is getting them to like you and trust you. Liking is things like videos, short 45-second clips where they can get to know you, almost kind of feel like they feel comfortable because you explain things in layman's terms. You are very likable. You don't talk down on them. You don't use big jargon. You just talk layman's language. And trustworthy, right? Those are the reviews. Those are the before and after. So they know that you are for real. You're not somebody who claims to be great. You are actually great. Why? They read those, they saw that 239 reviews with 4.7 stars. They saw the cases for the kind of things they're looking for. They saw your video, which got them to like you. So just understand the basics. See, the long-term thinkers know the fundamentals. Like, I'm thinking Michael Jordan and basketball. He understood the fundamentals and he just focused on it. Day in and day out, he goes and works on those basics. Of course, he won 6 championships, 3 back-to-back and then another 3 back-to-back, which is very, very hard to do in NBA. And he came back at a very older age and he won 3 more. I mean, it's not easy, right? So, but that's the secret of those people who do unbelievable things that we all look up to.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what about, Naren, if a dentist is using like regularly, or even all they do are promotions and advertise, like those ads, right, to get patients through the door. If I'm currently in that world, how do I shift towards a long-term, like a real marketing strategy that works more long-term rather than the short-term gains with promotions and ads?
That's a great question. I would recommend, now that you understand the way to think about long-term, which is the fundamentals, getting people to know, like, and trust you, starts, measuring yourself on those fundamentals, on getting people to know you. How many people see you without you spending any money, right? Especially the people who are looking for a dentist. That's where SEO comes in. If you're ranking for 100 or more keywords on page 1, you are doing pretty well. But if you're not, right? So find out, benchmark yourself on what the top 5% are at, because that's where we want to be. And then where you are, and then come up with a plan on getting there. So now that you know, okay, I'm currently only ranking for 11 keywords. I want to rank for 100 because once I rank for 100, I will get 95% of the free traffic. Now, what do I need to do? What are the steps I need to take to get there? Like, the underlying factors might be NAP or Lighthouse score. Each practice, it might be different. So get a blueprint, like find out where you are versus benchmark, and then get a plan or a blueprint to get there within 12 months. And that's one of the things that, we can do at no cost for you in what we call a marketing strategy meeting. And the link for that is insuranceuntangled.com/MSM. That's marketing strategy meeting. And just go there and book this meeting and get that, blueprint along with the, benchmark or how you stack up against where you need to be. So that's where I would start. That's on the, helping people find you, and then helping people like you, right? Again, look at your landing pages. Again, in that marketing strategy meeting, we can go through and show you how are your landing pages versus what it should be. So you know what the gap is, and you know what you need to do in the next 12 months to fill that gap. Finally, on the choose you part, that's where the reviews come in, the before and afters come in. Again, we can show you where are you versus where you need to be, and how do you get there? How do you get to the other side? Now that you understand, the core of marketing, and you know what you need to do to get to the other side of that, where you are in the top 5%. Now it's just a matter of getting it done day in and day out. Of course, we have 250 plus people and 14 plus teams. That's what we do. And, so we would love to, help you if you work with us. Of course, you can work with somebody else. But the key is you need to know where you stand versus where you want to get to. And now that you have that plan, now you go ahead and start implementing it.
Right. No, I love it. I think, slow and steady, that old adage, slow and steady wins the race,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that long-term strategies don't necessarily need to be slow, but I think they're essential towards a more sustainable and less stressful practice as it pertains to, hey, where are our new patients coming from? So you mentioned, so just a couple more questions, if you don't mind, Naren. You mentioned, about building visibility and trust to grow steadily. Can you explain how that works and why visibility and trust and to grow steadily is so important when it comes to marketing strategies?
Yeah, I mean, those of us who are students of marketing know consistency works, right? I still remember the Marlboro Man ad. I'm dating myself. I'm almost 50 now. Those billboard ads and so forth, right? I mean, those days we didn't have Instagram, we didn't have TikTok, we didn't have, social media, but it worked. It took a company that was the bottom of the list when it comes to cigarettes and helped them capture 40% of the market. I'm not advocating smoking, but I'm trying to make a point that any marketing, even if you're selling a product that'll kill you, done consistently works, right? So visibility is all around that consistency. Now, the beauty of something like Google is you keep showing up again and again and again and again. And many of our clients show up tens of thousands of times for hundreds of keywords related to dentistry. So now put yourself in the shoes of the consumer, right? They keep seeing you again and again and again, and not your competition. Who are they more likely to choose? Just like those people chose the Marlboro cigarette because that's what they kept seeing again and again and again. Now, of course, Marlboro had billions of dollars. You don't need billions of dollars to do this kind of consistent marketing with Google. So that's what visibility and consistent visibility is all about. Now, trust, right? They have choices, right? Unlike the old days when information was not readily available, now in their fingertips, they can find you and 10 other dentists. Why should they choose you? That's what I referred to earlier, awards, or Google reviews, or before and afters make sense. So we have a product called Doctor's Choice Awards, where you encourage your colleagues and friends and even patients who are doctors to write reviews for you. Now, highlight those reviews, right? So now people are like, wow, if other doctors trust him, he must be good. Why we have this bias that's called, expert bias. We think if the insiders, in this case, other doctors, who are just like you, our thinking is they know more about medicine and healthcare than the average Joe. So if some of those people think you are good, you must be good. So trust is critical. And again, awards, right? If you win an award, highlight it, because we think that anyone who wins an award must be good. So anything to make me trust you is really, really powerful. So, all components, right? Visibility, trust, they're all key parts of successful, this long-term marketing strategy.
I like it. It reminds me of an old quote that it's a greater honor to be trusted than it is to be loved. It takes people a while to kind of understand what that really means. But it speaks to the fact, exactly what you said, trust is big. Is you could love a bunch of people and only trust one person out of that pool of people that you love, But when you're dealing with the general public, people that don't know you, and you gain their trust before they even come in, I can't imagine that person is, if you treat them right, I can't imagine that they're going to be shopping around for another dentist anytime soon, So long-term strategies is what you mentioned there are amazing. So with regards to that, I just want to kind of reiterate what Naren mentioned for our guests. These things are so important, and the best way to sort of see what opportunities are available, where you stand in terms of your current marketing approach, is to schedule a marketing strategy meeting with Naren and his team. Check out the show notes for the link, but it's insuranceuntangledcom/MSM. MSM is short for a marketing strategy meeting. Naren, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate all of your insights. And I think for me, at the beginning of the year, trying to figure out business for this year, you reminded me to think about the long-term play. So thank you for that. And to our listeners, we want to thank you for joining us today on another amazing episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to share this with your friends and family on social media. And we also appreciate reviews. That will, of course, help other doctors find our content online. And lastly, I just want to mention that we do have quarterly webinars. Check out insuranceuntangledcom to subscribe to those webinars. Next one is coming up here March 21st, 2025. Thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate you listening in and chiming in. Until we meet again, we wish all of you the best of success.